A harrowing and complex story spanning several years, involving a tangled web of relationships, mental health struggles, and allegations of abuse. In part 1, we explored the turbulent dynamics between Allison and John Paul Miller. In today's part 2, we'll dive into Mica's unsettling relationship with John Paul and uncover the disturbing patterns of control and manipulation that plagued her marriage, leading to her tragic death.
If ever your life could be a true crime podcast episode, then this podcast is for you. We're about to embark on a roller coaster of emotions, insights, survival, and stories about escape. So buckle up and let the journey begin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back into the Escape Pod. I'm Julie.
At the camera, I'm Charity.
I know.
I'll just look at Julie.
It is a little awkward, but we made it
I
work.
suppose. Yeah.
Eventually, it's probably best if we just pretend like there isn't a camera there at all, right?
No, that's way better for my mental health.
Right?
Yeah.
What are you escaping today?
Okay, so you know how you guys were you spoiled me for my birthday and got me a gift certificate to Moccasin Springs. So we went to the Springs on Saturday.
Oh.
The Springs are always lovely. What I am escaping is the dipshits who also go to the Springs who cannot read the signs that say, this is a quiet zone. And they think they need to talk about the freaking grocery list while everybody's trying to meditate. I mean, I've gone several times. It's always been snowy, cloudy, and it's just kind of really surreal being out there and it's snowing and it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. This time it was sunny. I'm in the hottest pool with the sun on my face, and this is my happy space. I am just, and this guy starts talking about his freaking grocery list. I'm like, dude, inside voice, please. Yeah. And then I got to see his butt crack, which no one needs to see. So that's what I'm escaping.
It's a hard pass right there.
Yeah. I just like cork. We need like some big, ball gags. That's what we need. I'm going to take one next time.
I have only gotten to go, I think, once. And there were also people there, not the entire time, but there were definitely people there who didn't read the quiet signs, which the reason I wanted to go, we had been encouraged to go by somebody who also has kiddos at our school. And she was going on and on and on one day about this amazing, day trip they made to the Southern Hills. And, it's so lovely and it's so calm and it's just relaxing and quiet and exactly what you need. And so we made a point, when you have two very busy kids and have very busy lives, we took an afternoon to go once, my husband and I, and we did have talkers, like loud talkers, and they were talking politics, which even worse than the grocery bill. The grocery bill I could have chimed in on. The politics.
But I'm like, you can't wait.
Right.
Go home.
Yeah.
Go away. Go somewhere else. So finally I just said, screw it. I looked at my daughter. I whispered, probably a little loudly so one of the dipshits could hear me, and said, I'm just going to go drink mimosas. So that's what I did.
Was that peaceful?
Yes.
Awesome.
I said, just bring the bottle. And then everybody drank mimosas. So it was great. But
that sounds like a lovely time.
It was. I just wanted the sunshine and the quiet and nature. Like, I don't even know how you can be in nature in a space that is that sacred
pretty
and
serene.
Beautiful. And one guy, holding his phone constantly, I just wanted to knock it out of his hand. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah.
Why are you bringing all that here? Go somewhere else. Anyway.
You go to those places to not do those things. To escape those, the day-to-day blah. Yeah. That's my blah. Yeah. I'm escaping deadlines. They're coming at me like a freight train. So we'll just get on to this episode so that I can get back to meeting my deadlines. Yes,
Julie does
I
not
have. The ironic thing is that part of the reason I enjoyed the job I had in TV was I had deadlines every day.
Yeah.
Because I am by nature a procrastinator. I do wait to do things until, not always, and it's gotten much better, but I am a person I don't do things a month in advance. I don't do things a week in advance all the time. And so having multiple deadlines a day was very good for
I'm
me.
having anxiety just hearing you talk
very
about
good
that
for
'cause
me.
we are very opposite on that.
We are very opposite. Yes.
Heart
yes.
palpitations in full effect right now.
But it's not like I'm not doing anything, like I'm just sitting there and like not I have to take one thing at a time. And I am a perfectionist, and so sometimes
You
just
don't
like getting
say.
something done and saying you checked it off, like I have a really hard time just being that person. And so this is the world I'm in this week. I am not even gonna say it. I hope next month is better. But I won't say there won't be deadlines.
I was going to
I'm
say
sure
I
there
would
are.
trade you, but you wouldn't like what I'm doing.
I'm certain of that.
But I am having the best time at
Oh.
it because it's like, I think we've talked a little bit about Gravitate on the podcast before. For those of you that are maybe tuning in for the first time, Gravitate is an employment platform that will rival Indeed and ZipRecruiter and those types of things, that is actually geared to shore up all the deficits in the current employment platforms. It's not a pay to play like it is for employers, where if you want your job to stand out and you get, more qualified candidates, you have to pay handsomely for that. Like, it's not a racket, and it's actually helping make people more employable. I was just conducting an interview this morning, explaining Gravitate to somebody, and said, so if you show up to my interview and you don't quite work out for me, the feedback I give you makes you more attractive for the next employer. And they get to see that trajectory, and it's just really cool. But I'm doing some updated market research into that for like a pitch deck. And when I first started, I was just like, oh, I'm going to hate my life for the next month or so, like really going to hate my life, because it's going to result in a new business plan and all that.
Yeah.
But
that is not fun stuff to me. No.
No, it's not. But here's the deal. Like, the market research is only, we all know I'm a big dreamer. We all know I look at things and say, that looks really hard. Let's do that. And then it works, right? And this is one of those things, like long shot, Hail Mary. We've launched a software company in order to support our nonprofit. That's how dedicated to this mission we are. But the more I delve into the market research as it stands today, not as it stood 3 years ago when I first started this journey, it's just blowing the lid off of what I thought was possible. And what I thought was possible was pretty.
Yeah.
It's bringing it more within reach, and I am just stoked. So anyway.
So it's all in our favor, essentially.
Yep.
Like it's going the right direction.
Yeah, and when I first
going
started,
the right
I'm like,
direction.
okay, how am I going to frame this so that we still look really good and attractive to investors?
Should be able to do that.
Yeah, I am so stoked. In fact, I'm like, do we have to record? I just want to keep going. So I'm going to work all weekend because I'm just on this roll, and I want to me, I get really fixated, and I don't stop and come up for air until
You don't say. Yeah.
That's how I operate. So anyway, I'm in one of those fixation modes. I'm super excited.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's fixate on the next part of our story,
sweet Mica.
shall we? Yeah.
Yes.
So we started this last week. Got to know some of the key players. Tell me more.
We did. So last week we talked a lot about Allison Miller, her derpy husband John Paul, and his delusions of grandeur and all the things he did to support his sex addiction and these types of things. We started out using JP. I will use JP and John Paul interchangeably.
Okay.
We were calling it was trying to differentiate between Mica as a child and then Mica as a married woman. So we called her M in the beginning. So just in case there was any confusion on that, nobody has said anything, but just to further clarify, in case there was a confusion point, M from previous episode is Mica Francis. So we're going to start with 15-year-old Mica today. Okay. So we are going to begin part 2 in 2011. She is, I've shown you pictures, drop dead, beautiful 15-year-old girl. And she's just very active in general, active in her church. She's outdoorsy, hiking, skydiving, running, all the things. She lives on the beach, going to the beach. She just lives life to the fullest. everything is driven by her faith. So she's just, very dedicated. She has a dad, she has a brother, 4 sisters, super, super close to her large family. Obviously, being that dedicated to her faith, her church is a huge part of her life. And it's through her church youth group that she meets, at the time, youth pastor John Paul.
Okay.
So she's 15. He would have been 28 to 30 years old at the time that they met. Now, remember, he's married with 4 kids to Allison, and then Mica would later become a nanny to those 4 kids. Okay. So John Paul begins pursuing Mica. Age, schmage. I don't need to worry about that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And, I was thinking about that. Like, I kind of get it. Like, I was 18, I think, once pursued by a much older man in a position of authority. He was actually my boss. Probably a similar age difference, 15 years or so. And it started with like him offering to buy me and my underage friends alcohol after work. And, that led to partying at his house. That led to me being hired to paint his condo or his apartment, like as a side hustle. And then after painting one day, your shoulders look tense, and started massaging my shoulders. And I'm like, because like he was attractive, like the whole bit, but I'm 18. And I think I'd graduated high school. I think I was graduated or close to graduating high school. So I was in that range, but still something was like off.
Yeah.
So you're flattered, but anyway, I'm sure with Mica being even younger, and I mean, with how faith driven she is, getting attention from someone who's a pastor probably just is like a cherry on top, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
It really could be. So I just tried to put myself in her shoes and think of what that could have felt like and been like for her. Just, beautiful girl, full of life, in love with Jesus. And then this man gives her this attention. And
well, that's what I was going to say is I think, young people, teenagers and teenage girls, I mean, you like attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not everybody does. Don't get me wrong. Not everybody does. But sometimes it's if you look up to somebody and they show some affection toward you, and sometimes it's perfectly innocent affection, but
like an
sometimes
innocent
it's
crush.
not.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be sexual.
Right. I think that there can be a lot of mutual respect among people of different ages and mutual admiration. But sometimes here and there, it's not so innocent. And clearly this is the direction he's going with her.
Yeah, and obviously we can't ask Mica now, but thinking back to that time in her life, in the research, there are rumors that this relationship was physical, even at that age. So I don't know how she was reconciling the wife issue, particularly because she and Allison did have a very like mother-daughter type of relationship too. So, yeah.
It's odd.
Oh, it's tough. It's tough. But in 2012, Mica went ahead and married another man. This is Jeremy Dees that we talked about before, who was also working for the church and was John Paul's best friend. But John Paul's pursuit of Mica did not stop with that marriage. Eventually, like we talked about last time, Mica divorced her husband in 2015, and coincidentally, John Paul divorced Allison in 2016.
Okay.
So Mica's dreams were finally coming true, and she and John Paul were married in 2017. So she's now 23 years old, and he's 38. Okay. Mica's family, in all of this, it wasn't quite sitting well with them.
Okay.
So despite following through, getting married, making an honest woman out of her, so to speak, he did not approve of this situation at all. He loved his daughter, of course. He wanted her to be happy. But just like anything else, I mean, when you think about when this started, obviously it's not going to sit well with a father, right? So despite them following through with marriage, it was like, nah, if I could pick my life, this life path for my daughter, it would not involve this.
Right.
He would later say that he believed John Paul had been grooming his daughter, and Mica corroborated that later. Yeah. And there are just some things, even if now on paper it's made right, you still can't get over that.
Right.
Like, I get it. So newlywed again, Mica is like we've said before, she just lives things to the fullest. So she pours herself into her husband and their church. She wore a lot of hats at the church. She was on the praise team. She would perform and sing each week at church. She was the worship leader. She was the women's ministry leader. And she was also the creative designer for the business side of the church.
Oh.
So she just did all of it. All the branding and promotion, everything on what the public saw, social media, photos, all of that was all her.
Okay.
And it seemed that outside of the church, she and John Paul really enjoyed being out in nature and traveling and dining, and they just always seemed to be on the go and always have the money to do kind of the finer things in life and seemed to live really well. They also, from pictures, if you're just looking at like a photo album, seemed to be very much in love.
Okay.
They got matching tattoos pretty early on. John Paul even had his signature tattooed on Mica's body.
Oh, my. Okay.
Okay, your face just did that face.
My husband and I would not do that.
No. I love my husband dearly. His signature is not going on my body.
Well, not even that. I mean, even just getting like matching tattoos.
Yeah.
Like to each his own.
Well, why?
We would not do that. Yeah. He hates needles. I don't love
To
needles.
me, it's like a brand.
It can be viewed that way. Yes. Yeah.
So it, for me, threw up some red flags,
Uh-huh.
but I'll let you decide what you think.
Okay.
So again, things look wonderful from the outside looking in, but inside the home, as we alluded to in episode 1, things maybe weren't so amazing and beautiful, right? So documented problems began surfacing in 2021, 2022 timeframe.
Okay.
John Paul starts working private things about he and Mica's relationship into his sermons, and essentially painting the picture that Mica was mentally unwell.
Not okay.
Not okay. If it's true, it's not okay. If it's not true, it's not okay. There's nothing okay about it on any level, right? And from what I read, people in the congregation didn't really see these things themselves. So I'm sure it raised a lot of eyebrows. However, it's their pastor telling them these things,
Yeah.
right? So that gives it a different level of maybe believability. Anyway, this goes on for a while. Things in the home continue to deteriorate. So one minute, John Paul is kind and loving to Mica, apologetic. And the next moment, he's abusive and absolutely terrifying. He writes terrible things about her on little Post-it notes and then plucks them all over the house. So no matter where she looks, this notion that she's crazy and worthless and all these things is being reinforced. And he doesn't hide it when his ex-wife Allison would come to the home to drop off or pick up their 4 children. Then he kind of goes back to his sweet self. And, you know, Mica probably understandably, again, growing up with someone who put your head on a swivel, like you start to think it's you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
It just is the way it is. Yeah, I just can speak from a lot of experience how easy it is to find yourself at fault for the situation because those people are so skilled at making you believe that.
Right.
It's really a sort of mental abuse.
Yeah.
So we're going to fast forward a little bit now to January of 23 because this is where things start to heat up. Mica is tired of the abuse. We'll learn later what other things are going on. I don't want to give it all away yet. But she does file for separation. So she separates from John Paul, finally starts confiding in her friends and family that things are not going well in their marriage. She leaves out the gruesome details, likely afraid for her safety if John Paul were to discover that she'd let people know exactly what was happening and who he really was because of the power he had over her, her private life, her professional life, her church life. Like he just kind of controlled it all. And throughout this year, Mica files multiple times for a legal separation.
Okay.
And then would like pull it back because of
Fear.
all kinds of things. So finally in October of 23, so this goes on through the majority of 23, she finally files for divorce along with a no contact order. Fast forward a little bit to February of 24, John Paul preaches a sermon about how it's wrong to rise against religious leaders. Do you remember last episode when we were talking about how he would pull these things into his sermons potentially to like, if I do this, I mean, my congregation, they're a bunch of idiots, right? If I say these things, then if Mica ends up doing this, they're going to believe me because I already said this thing. I think that's what he was doing.
Okay.
So, it's wrong to rise against religious leaders. So then if Mica comes out and says, I'm a pedophile or I'm this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah, it's kind of planting that seed.
Yeah. Or like when the police didn't believe Allison, or they wouldn't take any action when she was trying to get legal charges filed against her husband. Well, you just filed for divorce. So it looks like it's just a petty battle kind of a thing.
Yep.
So, and they don't want to be used that way. But anyway, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
I suspect at this time, so February, that he knows she's serious about leaving him this time because on February 8th, he has her involuntarily committed to a mental hospital for 48 hours. And leading up to that commitment, he either throat punched her or tried to strangle her or both. And this brought on in her like a complete panic attack. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever witnessed a panic attack.
I've had a panic attack.
Okay. Not pretty.
No,
not pretty. So he took that and said, oh, she's crazy. Let's get her committed. But I mean, it's literally being induced by his alleged assault on her, abuse on her. And so he turned it on her because that's what really good psychopaths do. And all of this was, of course, according to Mica. So she's there for 48 hours. She gets out of the hospital within those 48 hours. And on February 10th, she finds out after she gets out of the hospital that he's taken her phone. He'd come to the hospital while she was there and took all her belongings. So he has her phone, he has her ID, her car keys.
Yeah.
Sure enough, she gets her spare car keys. She goes to where she'd left her car. It's not there. Yeah. It's gone. He steals her car. So she calls the police, reports her car stolen. But because it was considered marital property, tough luck, wasn't pursued. So now we're at February 15th. Things are going to start escalating. 911 call comes into Horry County Dispatch. And this is pretty soon after she gets out of the hospital and sheds some more light on what she'd been enduring. And she says, quote, I have somebody who I believe to be in a manic state and is a direct danger to the people in his household and himself and others, she tells the dispatcher. I need an immediate pickup, not the 72-hour pickup that a spouse can initiate. I need this to be a little quicker because he is a flight risk. There's been domestic violence. He's put his hands on me. I need an immediate pickup, not a 72-hour where he can flee the county. He's very hyperactive right now. She added later on the call, he's causing a lot of damage very quickly. And then she also says during that call, when I got out of the mental hospital, he was impersonating my identity. He's texting everybody. He hacked my social media. And she also tells the dispatcher that John Paul was in possession of guns that were bought in her name. And she was afraid that he was going to use them and say it was her.
Sure.
He's got my CWP license, which is her concealed weapons permit. He's got my public notary license and seal and stamp. He's been trying to force me to sign a postnuptial for the last year and a half, and I fear that he's going to use my seal to impersonate my signature like he's been impersonating my identity for the past 3 days. She also tells them that they'd been separated since January of 23 and that his behavior has escalated over the past 8 months. And she stated that when she was admitted to the Waccamaw Center for Mental Health, she believed he fraudulently initiated this hospitalization using his power of attorney. Because, I mean, a lot of couples have medical power of attorneys over each other. Yep. That's how he did that.
I still feel like you should need some other...
Look at his standing in the community, though.
I guess. Yeah, sure.
Pastors don't lie, Julie.
I mean, a lot of them don't, but
I mean, that's the thing, right? It worked in his favor, right?
Yeah.
It allowed him to be his deceptive self and hide behind that facade because most good, rational people think that a pastor is a good, rational person, period.
Yeah.
We haven't done an effed up fact for a while.
Okay.
You want to hear it?
Yes.
According to the Training Institute on Strangulation Prevention, a woman who has suffered a, quote, non-fatal strangulation incident with her intimate partner is 750% more likely to be killed by the same perpetrator with a gun, end quote. Keep that in mind. Okay?
So for those at home listening for the first time. So we like alliteration. But fun fact doesn't work for all the facts here. So we use a different term. The effed up fact.
Yeah, the effed up fact.
Yeah, it is.
The effed up fact.
It is indeed. That is horrifying. Okay.
Okay. February 21. Mica tells law enforcement she has known her husband since she was around 10 years old and that he groomed her while she worked for him at Solid Rock Church until they were wed in 2018. When the officer reached out to John Paul, he said she suffers from episodes on an annual basis around Christmas time and alleges that she spends a lot of money when she stops taking her meds. You know, just another hysterical woman, right? We've talked about them in the past. February 23rd, John Paul, being the upstanding, classy guy he is, files for spousal support.
Oh.
He's the breadwinner. He's just being a dick. So he does that. February 25th, in another sermon to his congregation, he says that a mentally ill person doesn't know they're sick. Quote, "You have to trust the people around you. The thing that's sick is your mind, and your mind is what you need to realize that you're sick." So again, another seed planted. Also, genius. I mean,
yeah,
just kind of see. I might pull up for you today that video of the deranged. I just can't even describe it. Okay. March 10th. JP preaches a sermon, another one, and reveals that he went through 2 years of messages on his wife's phone. He found that 18 people reached out to her to say, if you ever want to talk about your husband, blah, 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 you can talk to me. I'll keep it confidential.
Oh.
Visibly upset by this, he follows with, "That's a demon talking." Same sermon. He also says, "One thing I'm going to preach about is getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus." What the actual?
That's so strange.
That's just cringy.
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking of? Like, that's why you're in this business, you creep.
So bizarre.
I'd walk straight out if I heard a pastor say that. Peace out. Best of luck to you. And he's got a hot wife, and he's still he's just a creep.
Yeah,
Creep. I need a better word because creep's not even doing it justice. He also tells his congregation that his wife was in the hospital, and as soon as she got out, she left him. She gets out and she just leaves. She completely leaves me. Leaves everything, drains the bank account, just goes. Guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed.
No, he's not.
No, well, maybe he is. I don't know if he is or not.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, no, he's not.
But poor baby, she left him. You locked her up against her will.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
You moron. He's just a selfish baby. March 11th, Michael calls the police again. This time she says that a razor blade has been embedded in her car tire, and it's the second time a razor has deflated her tire within that week. The responding officer takes a look at her tire. He describes the metal as like a tire deflation device.
Okay.
You can buy these things online. Please don't do it, people. But people do this. Mica named to the officer who she believed the suspect to be. The report I saw, it's redacted. We can only guess.
Right.
It's JP, and I'll get to why that's a pretty informed guess at this point. But while making this report, she also mentioned some strange activity and believed people were following her or watching her. And Mica tells the responding officer that the redacted suspect had a history of similar actions against her, but police said at the time there wasn't sufficient evidence to prove that it was this particular person, probably JP, that put the razor device under her tire. So she calls the police a second time this same day, so March 11th, to get help changing the deflated tire so she could get to a gas station, gas up, go to the dealership to get her car fixed. And while she's getting gas, the same redacted suspect in the earlier incident pulls up and starts trying to talk to her. She allegedly tells him, go away, she doesn't want to talk. And remember, she's also filed a no contact order, right? And so to get him to leave, she pulls out her phone and starts recording. And he sped off.
Okay.
Again, reading
Very
in between the lines here.
Smart lady.
I know of no other no contact orders that she's filed against anyone. So it stands to reason that it's JP harassing her.
Yeah.
And then while the officer was standing with her taking this report of him in the gas station incident, she receives a call also from the suspect. So just a an onslaught of harassment.
Yeah.
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 You look like you're going to say something.
Just that word. Like he's just harassing her
Yeah.
constantly.
Yep.
Yep.
The way the report reads, the suspect was told that Mica from the cop doesn't want any further contact. If he proceeds, warrants may be issued. The suspect acknowledged the advisory. Over the same exchange, Mica did tell police she was fearful for her life and that she'd blocked John Paul's number but would still get calls and texts from him from other numbers. Mm-hmm. She ended up calling the police back again that same day to tell them that the mechanic, so she takes her car into the shop to get the tire fixed. He finds a tracking device on her car.
Oh.
This prompted Mica to go to the courthouse, start the process for getting a restraining order. And when she meets the officer there to hand over the GPS device, they see the suspect slowly drive by because he doesn't know that they found the tracking device. He just goes where the tracking device tells him on his phone, right? And then he sees Mica with the cops and he speeds away. And they saw him, or the suspect.
Obsessive.
Scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It is really scary. And we've talked about stalking before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been stalked both by people I didn't really know and people I knew.
Right.
And I think it's much scarier when it's someone you know and you know what they're capable of.
Sure.
Because they also know how to push your buttons.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, no stalking is good. Mm-hmm. But I just really feel for her. March 13th, a couple days later, someone at the Solid Rock Church filed a police report alleging an offender who Myrtle Beach PD said was Mica, I don't know if it's true or not, transferred donation funds from the church's Zelle and Cash App accounts to her personal bank account. The donations were meant for the church's 501c3 called Dare to Care mission, and this was the money collect. This may have been what he was referring to in Kenya.
Oh, all right.
And the person who filed the report said about $1,200 was transferred to her account. The report ends with an investigation will follow, but it's not clear if it was ever completed.
Okay.
Police later said insufficient evidence to pursue any charges. March 12th, JP's pathetic request for spousal support was dismissed.
Yeah.
Feels so bad for him. March 17th, John Paul tells a story to his congregation. It's like his Dear Diary, I swear.
Right? Stop talking to your congregation
Yeah.
about your personal problems.
He tells, this is the parable, I think, of a pastor whose wife left him for a member of his staff. The pastor had to hire a third-party company to find her. Once he found her, divorce papers were drawn up, and when the time came to sign the papers, the pastor just couldn't do it because the Bible says divorce is wrong, and if she wanted out, she would have to leave him. Have you ever heard that parable?
No, but he already has been divorced.
Uh-huh.
I guess that one didn't count.
That one didn't count because, no,
Okay.
no.
All righty.
He's not rational.
No.
Also, March 17th, Mica's sister Sierra posts on Facebook that she's constantly watching her sister's phone out of, quote, for fear of my sister's safety due to others' behaviors towards her, end quote. She goes on to reference the sermon from that morning. Interestingly, Sierra later claims in a document filed in probate court that Mica confided to her that JP had been moving assets out of his name and into others to keep it away from Mica, including like vehicles, the deed to their home, things like that. She also claims Mica spoke of domestic abuse and violence in the home at his hand. March 18th, Mica posts a video in which she says, quote, I'm just making sure my heart doesn't have any unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, just forgiveness and hope for the future and peace. So she's trying to move on. That's what it sounds like to me. Her sister stated that Mica was preparing for a life without him.
Okay.
She'd already shipped some of her personal items to Kenya for a mission trip she wanted to still embark upon and just get away.
Okay.
A few days later, March 22nd, she posted another video suggesting she was being abused physically and mentally. And she also says God does hate divorce, but how does God feel about abuse?
Yeah.
And she suggests that her husband forced her to take illegal drugs. Just wait. By the time we're done with this 4-parter, It is really insane. March 26th, bench trial is held in the case of Mica Miller versus John Paul Miller, a civil case in which Mica sought that restraining order. Bench trial resulted in the case being dismissed without prejudice, and unfortunately, no restraining order was issued.
Oh, no.
April 16th, Mica files for spousal support. Go girl. April 23rd, hearing notice was sent out for Mica's request, and court date for June 5th was set. Okay, this timeline's going to speed up a lot.
Okay.
April 26th, day before Mica's death, there were rumors that John Paul was with a new romantic partner.
Why do people keep flocking to some of these people?
I mean, he cheated on his first wife with
Yes.
Mica. You got to know what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Once a cheater, always a cheater. April 27th, Mica was found dead with an alleged self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head at the Lumber State Park in Lumberton, North Carolina. She was 30 years old.
Oh.
I'm going to play for you this 911 call. I will say it does talk about suicide, so if that's a sensitive subject for you, you may want to skip ahead about
Tune
3
out.
minutes. Yeah.
Robeson County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
Hi, are you able to trace the location of my phone?
Let me see. You don't know where you're at?
And National Park.
What's the phone number you're calling me from? Where's the park located at?
In Fair Bluff.
Let's see.
I have my location on, I think, on my phone. Find my phone is on. I just did my my location.
Okay, I'm showing, hold on one second. I don't think you are in Robeson County. Are you at the Lumber River State Park?
Yeah, that's where I am.
Okay. Tell me what's happened.
I'm about to kill myself, and I just want my family to know where to find me.
Okay, ma'am. Just listen to what I'm saying, okay? Let me make sure I got the exact location where you're at, okay? Just 1 minute.
So first impressions.
I don't know. I'm miffed a little bit. Like, I don't know if she's under duress or if she's serious. I don't know.
We will dig more in next episode. But at first glance, Mica's death was officially ruled a suicide by investigators and medical examiners. What's interesting to note is that she died less than 2 weeks after filing for divorce from her husband and less than 48 hours after serving him with those actual papers. People don't need to go through the cost and stress of hiring an attorney and moving forward with a divorce from someone they are terrified of and who is unfaithful if they're planning on suicide, in my opinion. Why would you do that? More stress if you're, April 28th, less than 12 hours after Mica's death. Pastor John Paul announces to his congregation at the end of his sermon that his wife is dead and it was self-induced. He also reminds the congregation of her mental illness. He asks the congregation not to discuss her death. Y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. You all knew she wasn't well mentally and she needed medicine that was hard to get to her. I'm sure there will be more details to come, but keep her family in your prayers. Does that sound like a grieving husband to you? It doesn't to me. But that brings us to the end of part 2. And part 3 will drill down into the events leading to that gunshot that ended her life one way or the other, and talk about some of the theories about what really happened to her. And I'll let you decide whether it was at her own hand or the hand of someone else.
Well, my initial thought to that question is that even if you don't pull the trigger doesn't mean you're not culpable.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay.
Very
I
true.
need a break.
That's fair.
We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back on the Escape Pod.
Hey, escape artists, grab your Traumedy Nerd hat. Spring's here, and we are blooming with some fun.
Drum roll, please. Introducing the Escape Pod Spring Trivia Challenge. It's your chance to flex those survivor smarts and snag some swag.
That's right, starting May of this year, 2025.
We'll post each question on our Facebook page, escapepod.traumedy, if you're searching on Facebook. Answer correctly in the comments, and bam, you're getting a free Escape Pod sticker.
And these aren't just stickers. These are badges of honor.
Yep.
These are badges of escape. These are awesome. So to play, hop onto Facebook, put your answers in the comments, tag a friend, and we'll mail you your sticker.
So tune in May 2025. Hit up at escapepod.traumedy on Facebook and show us your escape IQ. First question drops May 14th. Mark your calendars. Welcome back into the Escape Pod, everybody. I'm Julie here with Charity, and we just wrapped up part 2 of our podcast series about Mica Miller. And the case is as bizarre as we've probably ever talked about.
Heartbreaking.
And unfortunately, there are many, many women who are going to find some commonalities with parts of the story.
Yeah.
Because, as you've said, people who are very manipulative, people who feel threatened, and they turn it on the person they're supposed to love, and, potentially a pedophile in. Yeah, there were allegations. And so there's a lot going on with this one. So we're going to put it on the shelf until next week. We'll have part 3. Until then, tell me where you would like to escape to.
Out of the rain, and it's okay. We need it. I know
We
need
do
it.
need the rain, but it is very gloomy.
It is gloomy. I have my full spectrum lamp on, pretending that there's light outside when there's really not. This is the things I have to do to gaslight
That's okay.
myself. That rock orchestra. I
Oh,
have tickets for that Friday.
very
So we're gonna do that.
fun.
Yeah.
Very fun. I think I'm going to escape. You have a London fog, don't you?
I do.
From our little homebrew coffee shop just
Yes.
down the block.
Should I do a shameless plug?
Let's do a shameless plug. We love their London fogs. So when we're done here, I'm going to run over
You'll be
in the
over there?
rain. It is a London fog kind of day.
It is
So that
absolutely a London fog
that
kind of
is
day.
my plan, Stan.
Yep.
There you go. Okay. It's time to wrap things up. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are grateful for every single one of you. The Escape Pod.
Escape.
Escape Pod.
Escape.
Escape. Let's do that. Long story short, this is a labor of love. We are on a mission to grow the podcast so we can pour more resources into our nonprofit where we work. So the Escape Pod podcast suite is located on the One Heart campus here in Rapid City, South Dakota, where every dollar empowers people to break free from crisis and reclaim their lives. More listeners, more downloads, more impact. It is that simple.
Right. So thank you for your continued reviews. I just learned we actually have some of those, and they're very good.
Oh, good.
I was like, yay, because I never pay attention to that. And I think Kara Beth said, yeah, we have some 5-star reviews.
Oh,
I'm like,
good.
oh my gosh, we do. So anyway, thank you to whoever did that. We truly are a podcast for a cause. We are not trying to podcast to replace our careers like some people do. We really just want to support the nonprofit where we work, mission we highly believe in. And but here's where you come in. You can become a patron at escapepod.live. They're very inexpensive levels, $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, which will unlock some bonus content. We do have some stories out there now, behind the scenes laughs, uncensored content. We have all the stuff coming. Well, actually, it's May, so we're recording this pretty early, so you'll see a contest, you'll see more bonus content, all the stuff. So, but also you become a patron, you unlock the warm fuzzies. We all need them, especially on days like today, of knowing that you're funding real life breakouts. And our guests here at One Heart are doing such amazing things every single week. It's a win-win, and that's harder and harder to come by. So just for a few bucks a month, you're not just a listener. You're actually a hero in our story.
Yes, and please, please, please download the episodes because that beats streaming every time. It boosts our stats, pulls in more ad revenue, and helps us climb the charts so we can reach even more ears. So share us with a friend, rate and review wherever you listen, and hit that download button. It is a tiny click with a big impact.
That's right. We really do want to hear from you as well. You can connect with us at escapepod.live. Follow us on our socials for those of you who like that. Drop us a note just because at escapepod.live. You might want to suggest a future topic or just say, y'all are doing a great job. That'd be great. Or send your wild escape story to us at escapeartist@escapepod.live. And like I said, we've been hard at work developing bonus content and gated content, contests, all the fun stuff, weekly mini-sodes. We have heard you, and we are ramping up our content to celebrate the season.
We are closing the hatch now on this episode of the Escape Pod, but remember, trauma may be inevitable. How you grapple with it is optional. So please stay resilient.
And keep, I don't know. I got nothing, Julie. I don't have one today.
Keep enjoying those London fogs. We'll see you later.
Bye, everybody.